Hello and welcome back to the Teach Equip podcast. Here on this podcast, we want to talk about what teachers want to know, what Bible teachers want to know. We want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and share our own experiences. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Kelly.
And we're so glad that you are back with us.
Yep.
Now, this time we're talking about something that's connected to our last episode.
That's right.
Today we are talking about a note style, but it's different. It is manuscripting. And last episode, Kelly shared her journey with no notes.
No notes at all.
No notes at all. And how that's been great.
It's been great for me.
Been great for who you are, what you need in your wiring, and great for the people listening to you.
So if you haven't listened to that episode, you might go back and listen to that and
check it out.
Hear a little bit about the why behind that and all that. But this is in some ways kind of on the total opposite spectrum when we talk about manuscripting.
That's right.
Of note styles. So, okay, let me ask you a question, Lindsay. Just give us a recap from the last episode. When we even talk about notes as a Bible teacher, what do we even have to evaluate good note styles?
Right. So note styles can be so subjective. It's almost like it really can be anything that serves you, but eventually you have to find something that actually serves you. So what we say in Teach Equip is the best notes for you. The win of notes is the best version of your content with the best version of you. It gives you fully present for your audience. All of those things. So the best version of your content, best version of you for that audience. That's what we say the win is. Yeah.
Which that for you piece is really important. The best version, or not for you, of you, the best version of you is really important there, because sometimes we're just trying to find the note style that's going to give us the best of our content.
Right.
And we're not actually factoring in ourselves personally and how we're able to be present with the people we're teaching in the moment. But that's actually really important part of Bible teaching.
That's right.
Anyone can go read a book, theology book, or read the Bible on their own, but Bible teaching is beautiful in that we are individuals filled with the Spirit, transformed people, showing up, handling God's word as us, as me as Kelly, you as Lindsay. The individual part of us is a significant factor when it comes to Bible teaching and notes. In some ways, that's going to be one of the biggest determining factors for you to decide on what type of note style works for you. And so, Lindsay, you've landed in manuscript world.
Right.
When you say manuscript, define it.
So a manuscript is a document that you write, that you type, that has nearly everything you're going to say and how you're going to say it.
So like word
all
for
the
word.
Words. Almost.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah.
Like
a script.
It's very much a script. It's very much a script of what I'm about to say, the order that I'm going to say it, and how that's going to be paced for me. Yeah. So it's all my words, all the thoughts, all the words in the final order.
So when we're very different in our wiring and how we teach, which is why this is fun doing this together, because you listening are probably also somewhere in this spectrum, right? You're not going to be the same type of teacher and wired the same way as we are even, but it's wonderful to have the comparison a little bit.
Yeah.
And no notes is not for you. And a lot of that comes from how you're wired.
That's right.
So explain to me and to our listeners, why have you landed in manuscript? Why is that a good fit for you?
So manuscripting is a good fit for me because, in contrast to you, I'm not a big verbal processor. Any one of us verbally processes anything, but I am not once I talk it out with you now, I've really thought it out and I've made my way somewhere. I'm a very internal processor. Mental problem, emotional problem, anything that needs to get worked through, I best do that kind of on my own. Whether that's good or bad is yet to be seen or known, but that's just the reality. I am not usually thinking really clearly, creatively, and well on the spot. I can some, but it doesn't feel great. A lot of me live is still dealing with nerves. And then, if you add a stage component, or even without a stage, just sort of you're the person now leading this, there's just for me a level of nerves and trying to think about the moment that what's happening in my head is not something, again, creative or even present in loving those people. I mean, I love them, but there's nothing happening in my head that's like, I know what to say. I mean, I mean, there's some crickets happening there, which I wish I was different. But this is truly what's going on, which is consistent with other parts of my life. There are just other scenarios where I'm like, that just went blank for some reason, and it's not there, and that's okay. But my wiring is, like Kelly, what we talked about in the last episode was like, if you're wired a little bit like Kelly, that in a moment in a conversation, you have a conversation. It's like, that is so great. And you feel comfortable in a one-on-one, and you feel comfortable in a small group. And all that is a really good strength. How do you translate that into a stage moment, which feels unnatural? For me, because I'm an internal processor, what I'm doing with the manuscript is I'm actually trying to take a genuinely God-filled moment for me. That was actually private. That was actually me and him. And his word, and I'm trying to take that and put that in front of people. And a manuscript helps me because in the moment, between nerves and just how I am, I can't actually think about that. I can't remember that moment. But if I write it down, I can.
Yeah.
And if I write it down, I can remember it.
Yeah.
So what happens in my preparation is I am praying. I am praying about the word and what's there. And I'm doing the work of study. I'm doing the cross-referencing and finding the verses. And I'm praying for the people. And I'm praying for myself. And I'm meeting Jesus in all of it and trying to be dependent and all of those things. And all of that shapes my manuscript. All of that is happening. The prayers I pray for this theoretical audience, whether I know those people well or whether I don't, all of that's making its way into the manuscript so that when I finally stand in front of people and I'm feeling a little, I'm just nervous, and where my brain kind of goes blank, I don't have to stay blank. I can then attach to that amazing moment that I had with God in prayer where I loved his word and things were coming alive. I can bring that to you now because the manuscript brings me back to people, not away from them. So
that's great. Manuscript brings me back to people, not away. Where for me, it was the opposite. To have more of a manuscript removed me from people, at least in my own self. And it became me on my own with this set of words I wrote, wrestling with them as I'm trying to say them out loud the right way. It felt like a barrier between me and people. And for you, it feels like a bridge.
That's right.
That reconnects you with people.
That's right.
Which just even as your friend, I've noticed those things in you. Like we'll hang out and talk about something or important decisions that need to be made, whether it's related to Teach Quip or other things. And you're like, yeah, it sounds great. And then like a day later, you're like, I thought about it.
I did think about it now.
I actually feel this way. I actually didn't know how I felt in the moment.
Yeah.
Where for me, my feelings, I can navigate. That's all happening live in real time, instantaneously. That's just more just how my brain works, how I work. And so if you're listening to us talking or you listen to the last episode and you're trying to figure out where am I at in note styles, some of it is paying attention to how you're wired, how you think, where you're able to be most present with people. What's, again, it's best version of you and best version of content.
Right.
Where's the sweet spot?
Right.
In that. And it might be somewhere in between no notes and full manuscript, but we just want to talk about the ends of the spectrum here.
Yep.
So give an example maybe, Linz, of when you didn't have notes, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Like, how is that happening? Like, what? Tell me some of the problems that have happened in that moment that manuscripts solve for you.
So I've had a few examples where I was working with maybe a somewhat detailed outline. It had more than just a few basic words. But in one part, because I didn't want to be too tied to my notes, I just put, tell the softball story. And I know what story that is, but it went significantly too long, not just kind of too long. And you're fighting for time. It went way too long, 2 or 3 times as long as it needed to be. And it's not the end of the world, but things like that, things that I haven't rehearsed will get wordy because I'm actually getting lost. And if I start getting lost, I get wordy. Yeah. And so getting a manuscript will help me stay brief. And that's happened more than once where I've left it as just tell this story. And it's like, you can't let me loose there. It's dangerous. I'll say too much. I'll end up somewhere where I've said a bunch of words. I'm like, I just went off on a tangent live. I don't know how I got there. Now I'm lost. Now I've told the story. Now I'm lost. So a sense of lostness happened. A story will go too long. I've had a sense of total lostness. And it wasn't even because there was too much information. It was just like, I'm on stage. I said that one thing, and now I've totally blanked. And I don't know where I am at all.
It's a terrible feeling, isn't it?
And so a manuscript can just be like, hey, it's okay. I know your mind went blank. It just your brain stepped out for a second. Come back. So again, for me, I experience a manuscript as, remember, this is next. It's okay. But I've missaid things that were important. I didn't teach heresy, but it was like, I missaid something in the moment that now needed more explanation because I missaid it. So again, not heretical, terrible things, but as a communicator, I don't want to create more work for myself in the moment. Mm-hmm. I want to be with people in the moment with the best version of this content so that I can be with you saying it. Yeah. So I have said it in a way that now I needed to say more words to explain the thing I just didn't say right.
Okay, there's a few interesting things coming to mind even as I listen to you talking. A few points that I think are worth mentioning is one is the danger of missaying something. Mm-hmm. I think that is a problem every Bible teacher needs to take account for.
Right.
So even when I think about what I do with no notes, I think it's only possible because how much time I have spent in the Bible and the messages I do teach without notes, I have to really, really, really know them well. Yeah. Because there are things that it's like, I'm going to be held accountable for every word I say. Yeah. And I'm teaching people God's word. I better get it right. Mm-hmm. And if I don't feel like I can do that well from my memory, then I am going to bring something up there, or at least something that is really crisp and clear. This needs to be said right. So if you listen to both episodes, I just think that's worth saying. Yeah. That you're going to be held accountable, and you might feel more inclined to do no notes because of how you're wired. But if you're not competent in that passage, or in that theological position, or in that nuanced thing that you need to discuss, if you can't commit verbatim to memory the exact thing you need to say to be precise with God's word, then you might not be able to do no notes at that point. Right. Even if it's a better fit for you, which is again where notes are best version of you, but best version of content. If you can't do no notes and preserve the content, it's not for you yet. Yeah. But I think that's a really important point to say. And then the other thing I thought of as you were talking is, what's really interesting? When it comes to being in front of people on stage, unless something's changed, you're way more comfortable there than I am. I am. It's not, as far as just like how we just physically enjoy or not enjoy that space. It is not. I don't enjoy it. Yeah. It's not like, this is great. Small group is more that for me. Yeah. You're kind of the opposite. You're like, I'm great up here. Yes. But how interesting that you being more comfortable are still going, I would think it would be reversed, don't you think? Like, I'm more comfortable on stage. I can do no notes.
I feel like, I don't know what is the full reason. I'm like, I just deal with an opposite set of social disorders. Some people, but here's my experience going in is I'm nervous. I'm just trying to say, it's not like I'm not nervous at all. I think honestly, what happens is I go into a room, and I am a little nervous, but like, I'm not thinking about anyone's thoughts about me, which for you is like, well, that's a freedom. Right. Yeah. And it is. And I think that's why I'm comfortable. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not thinking about any of your thoughts about me, right? Which is why I can be silly or be comfortable up there, but also because I'm not thinking about any of your thoughts about me. I kind of have little to no thoughts. Right. So in some ways it's a freedom, because I can kind of get up and do whatever.
And I deal with a lot more of that.
And I'm not overthinking. Oh, those people are going to think I'm a total dummy, which they might, but I'm not usually thinking that. It's not that I think everyone thinks I'm great. It's just I'm not.
You're just not thinking.
I'm not thinking about that. It's just not there.
Well, that's definitely something I struggle with more. And even if you're listening, you're going, that's me too. I want to set that in the appropriate place, that it doesn't necessarily mean you're sinful in that. Some of it comes from the natural empathetic impulses in me that I'm naturally more attuned quickly to. Like, I'll see faces, especially in our local church, that I know what they're going through, and I know the conversation I just had with them, and I'm immediately now thinking about what the 5 of them, how they're going to interpret what I'm about to teach them. And so sometimes it's fear of man, and that's definitely temptation for me in some unique ways. But sometimes it's just, that's a skill set that is inappropriate in the Bible teaching moment, that I have to like go, brain, not right now. Right. Not right now. Put it down.
And I'm joking that I'm like, if you're not a vibey person, if you're someone who's like, I don't pick up on vibes super good, I'm not going to be your person who walks in the room is like, ooh, do you feel what's going on? I'm like, no, I don't.
Can someone tell me?
I've got none of that. Yeah. So sometimes it's an asset because I can get up in front of people and be comfortable.
Right.
In other situations, it's not an asset. But in some ways, that's how I think it all works together. Like I'm not picking up on a lot, but it can allow me to just be free to say what I'm going to say.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go back to manuscripts a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me what are some of the pros and cons of a manuscript as a type of note style if somebody's considering it.
That's right. Some of the benefits of a manuscript. You know what you're about to say. You can.
It's a great pro.
There's a benefit for time, especially if you have a really particular time constraint. If you manuscript and you practice it, you can time yourself and be really accurate, which is a huge help.
Yeah.
Anytime you're teaching somewhere so that everyone can program that, it's just helpful. Another thing is that as you manuscript, I want to just also be clear, manuscript is not like writing a book. They're not the same.
Yeah.
So a manuscript is not a written form of your material. A book would be that, or an essay, or an article. A manuscript is something that you write in your speaking voice. So in my manuscript, I've got things that I do like, you know.
So you're typing all that out.
I'm typing those things out.
Yeah.
I even have like in letters, pause here, go slow. I have those kinds of, it's a speaking outline. It's not a written form of communication. Writing is different. And a manuscript for me, as I prepare it, allows me to pace myself through that. Because if I hear myself burning through a story really fast, but I'm manuscripting and I start sensing that in my practice, I go, oh man, I think I need to slow down. And I think this point really matters. So let me make sure I put a pause here. So it ensures some pacing for me. It also allows me to think through. It allows me to think through and articulate what do I really actually want to say here. You know, any one of us is teaching and we're usually fumbling several times before we get out the thing we actually mean.
Right.
A manuscript forces my process to go, I just said that in 17, I wrote that out in 17 sentences. That is too many sentences. What does it take for me to get it down to 3? And in some ways, a manuscript, I literally go from 17 to 3. So the process of manuscripting makes me shorten, and then I literally see that I've shortened it. And that's just helpful for my brain. It keeps me from getting too worried. If I know I'm wordy, if I know that live, Lindsay just gets really verbose, lots and lots of words, it keeps me back from that. And manuscripting just helps with forgetting. You know, manuscript can just help with forgetting. There are moments where I really felt in preparation, this applicationally mattered for this people. Taking the moment to address this person in the room who might be sensitive and conscious or going through a hard time, or I just want to make sure I really address them. In the moment, I might forget, but in the manuscript, it's like, oh, remember them. Yeah. Or remember that really wonderful theological thing or biblical connection. So it allows me to still bring the treasures that I think that God allowed me to discover in preparation, so those things aren't lost.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the pros.
That's great. Okay, but are there any downsides?
Yes, there are, and I think we know them. The biggest one is you are reading that thing. You are reading that thing. And
there's a temptation to read it.
There's a temptation just to read it because you worked so hard on that thing and you're reading it, but reading it is reading it, not talking it. Yeah. And it ultimately is not the best version of you for your audience. That's why we include both of those things. It's like for your audience, they need you to be there with them, present as much as you can with what God has given you. Yeah. So the temptation can be, because I wrote it out on the manuscript, I'm just going to, what they need is these words written on this page. Right. That's only half of that equation. They need you to be with them.
I've manuscripted a few times when I was trying all the things to see what would work. And I think that temptation is really real because the feeling you can get is, all right, the manuscript's done, so I'm done. Yeah. That's not true. Because there is a lot more that needs to happen in internalizing that to be able to share it without reading it.
That's right.
But there can be this a manuscript can provide a false sense of security that you're ready when you're not. Because you've got all the words right there. You're like, there's my script. I'm good. I'm good to go. I don't need to look at it again. I don't need to pick it up before I get up there. I just need to bring it with me and I'm good. And I did that a couple times where I was like, wait, I don't even remember writing this in this way.
Right.
And I'm not familiar with it and what's on the next page. And I'm super tied to it. It already wasn't a great note style for me. But that is a real temptation.
Oh, yeah.
With manuscripting. Yeah,
we said this in the last episode, and I had said there are, even if you don't decide to do even if no notes isn't for you, you still should, and I do this even as a full manuscripter, be very familiar with your message. The manuscripting process should be done earlier than you think so that you can get familiar with the message. And all those same things we said last time. If you can't get really familiar with your message, even if you're a manuscripter, if you can't keep it all somewhat familiar, it's probably an indication that some things need to go.
Yeah.
I'm still keeping very much like a general outline in my head of where I'm headed. My best messages where I have felt most connected with people, like where I would say that was the best version of me and the best version of my notes, was a full manuscript, but I was very familiar with that material. Those were the best ones. Yeah, and I have both been in scenarios where our notes didn't print.
Yeah.
And had we not been really familiar, we would have been sunk. So the caution in manuscripting is feeling like I wrote the whole thing. That's all I need to know.
Right.
That's just the beginning. If you full manuscript, then spend days longer if you can, just being very familiar with the map you're taking, especially the things that if you're like, this issue is so sticky or this thing is so important, it just really needs to be said this way, really making sure you've got that. That feels deep in you. You know it. You're ready to do that.
This is one of the most frequent forms of feedback we give to new students in the Teach Quit program is you're too tied to your notes.
That's right.
You're reading it. Find a way to get away from it. So that's a common problem.
Yep.
I think, too, for somebody who's listening to this, exploring note styles, we would say if you're new in your Bible teaching journey, it's better to err on the side of manuscript than no notes. Even if you listen to the last episode, like, I super resonate with Kelly and I'm wired like you and I think that would be a good fit for me. It's like, well, I think every person could benefit from start with a manuscript. It's almost a little bit like training wheels to get you going. And it might actually be the best fit for you long term. But that's what I recommend people doing. Like, I don't know where to start. It's like, well, then start with the manuscript.
Yep.
But write it like you speak.
Write it like you speak.
Another big error we see in Bible teachers all the time is I'm listening to them talk to me as if they've become super formal and proper in their English and it's like you clearly wrote this like an essay.
Right.
Because that's how we normally write. In what other form in our lives are we writing out words in our common speaking way of speaking?
Because if you're in school, you get penalized for that.
That's right.
Your English teachers would tell you, don't write how you talk. But in this situation, write how you talk.
Yes.
That's what you need.
If you read it out loud and it feels wooden and not your normal conversational style, then you're not writing your manuscript correctly.
And if you're not sure, have someone who knows you well either listen to you say it or look at your manuscript and say, you don't really talk like that.
Right.
Because it's, you get written, you get formal. If you're quoting from theological books, it's just easy to start to sound like that. And you don't want to sound like that.
No.
Forcing yourself to start in manuscripting will also just work the muscle of you have to think about what you're saying and why you're saying it that way. Laboring over particular words and phrasing, whether it's because you need nuance or whether it's because you need it to be shorter, all of that needs to be worked on. All of those muscles are worthwhile. And manuscripting, because it's so thorough, will force all that.
Yes. Okay, so I know some fun tricks that you do with your manuscript.
Fun tricks.
Specifically with colors.
I sure do.
Can you tell us about it? Because I think that's a really helpful trick for anybody writing any kind of note style. But would love to hear about what your process is for that.
So my process grew over time. It started because as I started teaching, I was manuscripting because that's all I knew to do. And it kind of worked, so I kept it. But then as I started to learn, and we were instructed by people in our life, hey, a good message has these kind of pieces to it, right? And it has a healthy diet is these items. And I was very anemic and weak in the arena of application and illustration, but I was strong in things of like, let's look at the Bible and here's what that means. And I needed a way to go, what is the pizza missing? Like if it's a pizza with these ingredients, I'm missing some ingredients. And I needed to find a fast way to go, this is what's missing. So I started color coding. So originally my color coding started as these elements of examining, explanation, illustrate, apply. And I just color coded those and I made mine up. So examine is the time we're in the word, that was blue. Explain is black, because that's usually where I major. And it was like, if my manuscript is me explaining everything and it's all black text, I'm like, that's not good. My illustrations are green, and for me, my applications were red. And so it started out as I would write my whole manuscript, I would color code it, and then I would just zoom out and literally look at it and say, what's missing? Where is there just a massive block of me over explaining in 35 sentences what an illustration would do in 5? So that's how it started. I'm adding some different things as they work for me. I changed it now. Sticky phrases, thesis-like things that are central. Those things are bold and in purple, because those tend to be the things that it's like, if I do come back to my notes, it's like this, I kind of want this to be said exactly how this is right here. I try not to have any long, lengthy things that have to be said exact, but I have short things that are purple that are like, come back here, say this exactly like this. It's usually a punchline to an illustration. It's like, this critical moment needs to happen here, needs to be said like this. So it's like a purple thing. And then I have found different ways to mark pauses, highlight those in yellow, and say this slowly is maybe a different color, italicize something. So I'm just finding what visually stands out for me. Again, I'm pretty visual. So a color will signal something in my brain quicker than just words will. And that's what coding works for me. If I was a communications major, but we sort of lost some of the art of public speaking, but there are actual formal public speaking notations that awesome. Mean things, you know, like, and it's
give us some.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Any?
No, I don't remember any. I don't use them. I use what works for me. But I'm just saying, like, there was a time in oratory where it was like, you're marking up the words you prepared to be said in a certain way. I should Google them and like bring them up next time. But
that's fun.
What works is if you work it. But I have found that works for me.
I think the color coding is really helpful. I think no matter what note style you're using, that's great, because when the moment when you're with people, we're trying to be as present as possible.
Yeah.
And so to be able to take a quick glance at your notes and see a certain color and that trigger for you, oh yeah, I'm coming up on a story, versus having to read the words, the story, whatever it is, the more reading you have to do in real time. The more disconnected the potential is for you from your audience. And the point is, I have something God has put on my heart to say from his word to you. How can I stay in that moment and as present as possible? And I think colors can be real quick visual aids.
Yeah.
Or you could do pictures or icons or emojis or draw things on the side. For a while when I was doing a little more manuscripting, I'd put it on an iPad and then use my Apple Pen to pencil to like mark it.
Yeah.
To give myself, I put big circle 1 to just clue into like how close am I to my second point. And that was so much more helpful to have a quick, easy visual clue to what was coming next or where I was, rather than just all these words.
So,
they all blend together.
So many words and it all blends together.
Words. So, okay. So I'm curious if you've tried any other note styles besides manuscript.
Yep.
I've tried some too. Maybe we can talk about a few of them.
So I did do a no notes moment where I had a full manuscript ready, and I chose to do no notes because the situation called for it. And so that would just be my challenge to people who like manuscripts, and it's working for you, and nobody's saying stop doing that. But to still work on, don't be tied to this, be tied to them. Because the situation, I didn't fully know what I was going into. I had agreed to an event. And I was like, yeah, I can do that, sure. And then when I walked in, for me to have a manuscript in front of me on like a music stand or whatever, which I don't even think they had one, would have been super weird. It just would have been so off for that moment. And I knew the message. I had become so familiar with it that I was like, I can do it. Yeah. I can do it. And it felt better for my audience. That's why we say, the notes are the best version of your content and you for them.
That's right.
So for them, it was best to give them me as I am with this information.
That's
so
great.
That worked great, having no notes. So I have done it. I have been doing a little bit recently, and I do this more with our Bible study. Kelly and I teach our women's Bible study. We've done it regularly at our church. I have taught from an outline. So it's kind of like and an outline is can be a great advantage because it's very flexible. Yeah. You can have a very filled out outline, like a kind of beefy outline that you have a lot of sentences. You want to say this thing exactly like that. Or an outline can be very, very sparse and can lean you into less and less and less notes. So outlining can be really great. And I've done both of those. I've done detailed outlines where it helps me understand the flow, gives me some freedom away from my notes, but still gives me these particular things need to get nuanced. I want to make sure I hit this exactly this way.
When you're doing an outline, are you manuscripting first and then stripping it down to an outline?
I've done both.
Depends probably on the content, how familiar you are with it.
Depends on the content. I've worked through a whole manuscript. With the strength of that is I've had to work through all the thoughts of that thing. How do I want to say that? That got too long. This needs to be too short. Or this is too short. And then I work backwards and then make it an outline. I think that's really thorough, and it forces you to remember the shorthand version of your message. But I've also been so familiar with something that it is a familiarity thing. I haven't had to full manuscript because I feel like I kind of know where I'm headed with this. I know where I'm going. And then I make an outline that way. I do think in some ways, if you've been manuscripting and you want to find a way to get off of your full manuscript, it could be a good try to work through your full manuscript, really work through what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and then pull back and make that manuscript a thinner outline with not every single thing you're going to say, but a version of it.
Yeah, I've done outline's probably what I've done the most of until I landed on no notes. Manuscript was very quickly. I'm two in my head with this. Outline was less information and more helpful. We're doing just these 2 episodes right now on no notes and manuscript to give kind of the bookends of the spectrum, but there's a lot in between.
There's so much.
I don't know if we'll cover them all in their own separate, podcasts. We have a whole class on note styles in our Teach Quit program, but outline is another one. Another one that's worked well for me has been an annotated version of my Bible text. So if I'm teaching a passage, I will print that passage out and study from there, mark it up. And then I'm just making notes along the side of what flow I'm doing, a few other notes. That's been really a great fit for me.
I've done that too with our outline. Women's Bible studies. I did that with a few chapters when we were in Amos that I had our study guide. That's what they have. And I actually had my notes because the structure is the text. So it was easy for me to follow the structure of Amos 3 or whatever. And then I had my illustrations, cross-references, whatever in there. So
written down
that can be really great.
Yes. We have a friend who does just Post-it notes in her Bible.
Post-it notes in her Bible. She's a genius.
So it's there's so many different things you can do. There's a few pastors out there who have their own version of shorthand that's just
you can get out there and Google Tim Keller's sermon notes. It's gobbledygook. You won't understand it. But in some ways, it just makes the case for over time, you develop what is the best version of your content and you for that audience.
Yes.
And have some freedom to try some things and see what works for you.
What's assumed in this whole conversation is that you're getting a chance to practice Bible teaching and try different note styles. I mean, and some of what we're admitting too is that it wasn't always obvious right away.
Right.
What was the best fit for us. It was over time through practice and trial and error and figuring out the sweet spot of content and myself for my audience of what is the best fit for me in this scenario. And that's some of what you need is just places to practice and try that out. And so this is a encouragement to do that as you have opportunity and to don't be afraid to try new things, to try and find what's best because in the end, it's all in service, 1, to the glory of God for his word to be proclaimed rightly. And 2, to serve people. Right. To serve people and help them be connected with you in that moment and get the glories that are in God's word in the best way possible for them as listeners. That those are for the glory of God and the good of others. We work on this as Bible teachers. It's not for us to be the best well-spoken version of ourselves, but to give the best content, best version of us for them.
That's right.
So tell us how it's going for you. We would love to hear some of your journey. Leave us a comment. Let us know your story with Bible teaching and what has worked for you. That would be awesome. We'd love to hear. And if you have other ideas for us about what you want to hear in this podcast, we really want this to be a place to platform conversations and tools for Bible teachers. And you can email us at info@teachequip.com and let us know if you're like, please talk about this. Which, as an aside, next time, Liz, what are we planning on talking about next time?
Oh, next time is going to be glorious. We're actually going to talk about what we affectionately call the trough of sorrow, the valley of despair, the giant dark pit that we all enter.
That's right.
As teachers.
That's right. It's part of the process. What do you do when all your words are dumb and you've convinced yourself, why was I asked to teach this?
I will never do this again.
I have nothing to say. I will not have a message. It's not coming together.
I'm going to call them and quit.
Because we're just letting you know that's there for all of us. We're going to talk about how to weather that storm.
Yeah.
Next time. So make sure that if you're not subscribed already to this podcast, subscribe so you don't miss new episodes and new content that we're putting out. And make sure you visit teachequip.com. Get on our email list. We send out little reminders about every episode that's coming out. We release these monthly, and we'd love to have you on the journey with us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.